Hey guys, it's Chris. From the remains of ancient dinosaurs to lost parts of ancient culture and more. Join me as I reveal 9 amazing archaeological discoveries. Number 9. Dinosaur Skeleton. The finding of dinosaur fossils of any kind isn't really a new thing. In fact, it's a very well-documented event that has set the stage for many people to go and try and find bones themselves, and even has become TV shows over the last few years. But for a boy and his father in Alberta, Canada, their desire to find bones led to quite a horde of discoveries, including a dinosaur skeleton. What happened was that this amateur archaeologist and his father went to a protected area and started digging around, legally, to try and find some bones. Not only did he find some, he found droves of them. They alerted the necessary authorities, and months later they were allowed to see the results of their find. I wasn't even excited, even though I know I should have been, Nathan Hrushkin told the BBC. I was in so much shock that I actually found a dinosaur discovery. The two's discovery was a life-changing event, and they were speechless over what they'd found. And again, these kinds of finds are a key part of archaeology, whether they be just pieces of bones or full-on dino skulls. There's something special, and in the case of Nathan, proof that they were meant to find these things, and that's amazing. What dinosaur fossil would you most like to dig up? A T-Rex, a giant brontosaurus, maybe a triceratops? If you could be lucky enough to find a complete fossil, which one would be your fantasy? Let me know in the comments below. Then be sure to subscribe to World List if you haven't already, because there are awesome new videos coming out all the time, and you probably don't want to miss them. Number 8. The Second Pyramid. For Egypt, the archaeological finds within its region are near limitless, simply because the sand and terrain have buried so many things over the centuries and millennia. By doing so, they've been preserved until they're rediscovered. Case in point, a discovery in 2017 of a new pyramid belonging to a dead pharaoh. It's a curious find because 60 years prior, in 1957, another pyramid was found, and it housed the very pharaoh that was named on the pyramid found in 2017. So it's kind of odd that a second pyramid would be attributed to him, right? The pharaoh himself was called Ameni-Kamau, and he was indeed laid to rest in a pyramid that was found in 1957. But not 2,000 feet away from that pyramid was another one that also bore his name. However, upon further looking into the pyramid, a box was found that had the name Hatshepsut on it, and that just so happens to be the name of his daughter. This led many to wonder if the pyramid was built for her, or at the very least was her burial chamber. However, no body of said princess was ever found. So what was the true purpose? Well, that's unclear, and that's what makes it all the more amazing that these mysteries keep piling up in terms of Egyptian finds. Could it have been some room of spiritual importance? Or maybe it was a storeroom that was full of treasure and was later looted. The possibilities here are kind of endless. Number 7. Guan ruins. Found in 2017 in Gaoling, Shaanxi in China, these ruins are from a very prosperous period in the Yangshao culture, which existed from 5000 to 3000 BC. An important thing to note is the size of the ruins. The burial site within them is 915,000 square feet and contains over 2,000 graves, which is much bigger than most burial grounds of that time period by a large margin. That's a very important factor for various reasons. What this revealed was that the more standard kind of burial method that is used in the modern world today was starting to form around this period. It's also believed that the people of the Yangshao culture were learning and trading cultural notions with others who were in the realm that would have been China at the time. This is particularly evident between the people who lived in Guan Plain and in Western China during that time period, for example. Furthermore, with this knowledge in hand, certain mysteries of the history of China can also be solved. There were architectural mysteries that existed about the layout and structure of the civilization and their buildings that this now offers insight into. These are the kinds of discoveries that really get people excited because it helps shed light on a culture and a people and just how the world slowly started changing towards what we have now. Number 6. Sword in the Lake. There's an Arthurian legend that states that King Arthur gave his legendary sword Excalibur to the Lady in the Lake in order to keep it safe and fulfill his destiny. That sounds no doubt like the stuff we tell kids to make them dream big. But here's the thing, a sword honestly was found in a lake once, and it's a very old sword. You see, a young girl went to a lake during a vacation to relax and have some fun. As she was in the water, she stepped on something odd. When she pulled it up, it was an oddly shaped piece of metal. So naturally, she took it, and when she looked at it some more, she realized it was a sword. I picked it up and was gonna drop it back into the water, but it had a handle, and I saw that it was a little bit pointy at the end and all rusty, she told the local. I held it up in the air and said, "Daddy, I found a sword." After showing it to her parents, they took it to some experts, and they found out that the sword was actually 1,000 years old, might have been even older than that, which would mean it's actually older than the Vikings of that era. This in and of itself is relevant as it would help paint a picture of what was going on in this area in that time period, which could lead to more discoveries depending on what that fact could uncover. Not to mention, it's gonna lead to a lot more people checking their lakes to see if they have certain artifacts lying around. Number 5. Kazakhstan Tomb Treasure. In 2018, a tomb in Kazakhstan was found, and within it was a massive treasure trove. The tomb itself was discovered within the BAGHDAD Mountains, which is part of the country where it borders on the neighboring country of China. At one point in history, there were people who lived in this area known as the Saka. The Saka were nomadic, and they traveled over Europe and Asia for hundreds of years, and they were known as expert horsemen. And they had a really nice span of life before the Turkish invaders wiped them out in the 4th century. The tomb itself had thousands of golden treasures, and it's believed that these were remnants of some of the elite of the Saka tribe. And upon observation, it's clear they had really good skills with gold working. There were inscriptions, gold woven into animals, and jewels planted in golden bands found within the tomb itself. While it's not possible to age them exactly, archaeologists believe that they're at least 2,800 years old, based on the metalworking techniques believed to have made these. Truly an amazing find that tells much more about a people no longer on this earth. Number 4. Baghdad batteries. It's always fascinating when modern technologies are found to not be so modern, but just a new iteration on ancient technology, which is what is apparently true with the battery. This is not speculation though, as a site in what was Mesopotamia and now Iraq found a special jar that was believed to be an ancient form of battery. The jars were of terracotta, but the insides contained a copper rod and a spike, as well as asphalt cork at the top. But before it was sealed, the battery was said to be filled with an acidic liquid. Most believed it was either lemon or grape juice. The result was something that could indeed produce an electric charge. And many have gone back and forth to see what the use of such a battery was for, back in 250 BC to 250 AD when they were believed to have been made. It got so divisive that it actually ended up on the show Mythbusters. They tested whether it could be used for electroplating and found that it could indeed work. And then there was acupuncture, via using electric jolts to ease pain like in some modern practices, and it did work to an extent. And finally, given the times, they tested whether it would work as a religious experience. And all three were found to be plausible, but the catch was that a singular battery didn't have enough juice to really do much of anything, but put enough of them together and you did get results. Whether the Mythbusters or other scientists are right in their beliefs about the batteries is unclear, but one thing is very clear. These batteries were made for something. Did ancient people have a rudimentary form of electricity they used in their everyday lives? It definitely seems possible. Number 3. The Library of ASHURBANIPAL. Texts from the ancient world are rare, or worse, they're not in very good condition to learn from. So imagine the joy that archaeologists felt in 1850 when they found a hidden library in Kuryan-Sheikh, Iraq that held stories from long ago hidden within its tablets. The context here is that this library of clay tablets once belonged to ASHURBANIPAL, a man who once ruled an ancient kingdom, Assyria, from 660 BC to around 630 BC. So that alone made it a rare find. But also in the find was the fact that there were 30,000 writings within the library, which is an astonishing amount to find in an ancient library. Historical texts, administrative and legal documents, medical treatises, magical manuscripts, and literary works were all inside. In fact, one of the clay tablets told the legendary story of Gilgamesh, which is still considered one of the earliest surviving pieces of literature ever. Many of the pieces of this library can now be found in the Museum of Britain. Number 2. Neolithic mask. At first glance, the mask you see here appears to be nothing special. But there's more to this than meets the eye, for you see, this was a mask that was made around 9,000 years ago, during a part of the Neolithic era, making it a very rare and important part of history. Adding to the story, it was honestly found by accident in Israel. A man was walking through a field when he found the mask, and then handed it over to archaeological authorities to ensure it wasn't stolen by anyone. The man then led the archaeological team to the field where he found it, and it turned out there were many more Neolithic artifacts within the soil. But what was the mask for? While it's not exactly known, speculation says it was part of growing supernatural and religious tendencies. When we talk about the Neolithic period, we talk about the transition from a hunter-gatherer society to permanent settlements, one of the team said. People were starting to domesticate plants and animals. This was a time when the spiritual world was very strong. Either way, it was an amazing and accidental find that made many people very happy when they got to examine and study it. I would have loved to have been there when the team was excavating this incredible archaeological site. What about you? Number 1. Tunnel with paintings. A 17th century tunnel was found near the city of Ecatepec in Mexico in November of 2019, and it was decorated with paintings that are distinctly pre-Hispanic. This potentially means that this came from certain Native American people who lived in the area before being conquered by the Spanish. The tunnel itself is believed to be a dike, or a floodgate that would let water through for the area. As for the paintings that adorned part of the tunnel, they were done by sculpting an image and then painting it with limestone, which was one of the preferred methods of the petroglyphs of the area. Some of the paintings that have been documented include a chimale, or war shield, a flint point, and the head of a bird of prey, while the stucco reliefs resemble raindrops. And another spot on the tunnel had a temple being depicted via the petroglyphs. The tunnel is still being researched, but this could lead to more clues about the time period the tunnel was made in, the people who lived there, and why certain structures like the tunnel were crafted in the first place. Thanks for watching. Which of these discoveries do you find the most amazing? Which ones do you find the most shocking? And do you know of any other amazing archaeological discoveries that could have been on the list? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to World List, and I'll see you next time on the channel.